Four, five, two, one. And we're live. Welcome back to another AI Journal episode. Today, I'm joined by Niels and Roy from Sprout.ai. Very exciting episode today and what we're going to be looking at. And before that, just want to welcome you to the show, Niels and Roy. How are you both doing today?
Amazing. Thank you so much. Excited to be here today with you.
Same. Very excited to be here. Thanks, man.
Yeah. It's great to have you on, and we're the great thing about this is we can join people from all around the world, which I always get excited by because it opens that kind of knowledge gap of learning from other people's experience. And today I get to learn from two of the best people going, and we're going to be looking at all around the insurance industry. Not only that, but certain applications of technology, maybe such as OCR and such as how AI is changing the insurance landscape, and looking at what your kind of visions are, Roy and Niels, on how these technologies are changing insurance, because insurance is key to everyone's life. I was saying on the call that we had the other day about how insurance is a product in everyone's lives, and it's always something that people need and always something people want. And to look at how you can make that better for a user and for a business is so important today. And it's such a critical aspect of our lives. So I kind of just want to kick off though. Roy, Niels, Roy, I'll come to you first. I just want to look at what your kind of experience is and what your story is behind what led you to Sprout AI and what led to Sprout AI and what your kind of background is. So Roy, with you first and then over to Neil, sir.
Yeah, thanks so much, Tom. So I've done my entire career in software development and delivery. Started in the actually Israeli Defense Force. So I trained to be a software engineer in the Israeli Defense Force. And I trained many other soldiers to be software engineers. And a lot of the high-tech industry and community in Israel grew up from where I came from. So that's kind of where I started my professional journey. And I had the opportunity to work in different companies, both startups that grew nicely and got acquired, and also bigger companies. And I was always focused on how to build great products in enterprise. It was always B2B, great product to enterprise. Not so much insurance before, so I've done medical imaging, and I've done storage and storage compression,
Nice.
and I've done other enterprise system recording for call centers, contact centers. But in my last role, just before joining Sprout AI, I was the VP of engineering for Tractable. And Tractable is an insurtech, insurtech AI company. When I was there, I was a part of a massive growth of the company, which was amazing. And that's where I was first exposed to the need in innovation in insurance, and how much claim specifically is an area that is striving for innovation. And as you said, insurance is something everybody uses, all of us has. It's actually, people said it's the only product you buy and you'd never want to use, right? You never want to use your life insurance. You never want to use your medical insurance. But when you get to use it, you want this experience to be extremely smooth, because that's the moment of truth. When people claim against their insurance, that's the one time where they test, is my insurer good to me? Do they answer me quickly? Do they provide me the coverage I needed? And the insurance industry has a very bad reputation in a sense. People think that insurers don't want to pay, they want to delay payment, they will always find a way to. And that's not true. Actually, insurers, they really, really want to pay you. They want to pay you what you deserve. They want to pay you without, incurring too many costs on their side, but they really want to pay. And customer experience is extremely important in this environment, because the competition is high. Transition cost, if you want to move from one insurer to another, you do it in 2 clicks today, right? So how you are being treated along this journey is extremely important. And that's what attracted me to Sprout, to know that we can influence the most critical point for the people that buy insurance, for the policyholders. Now, Niels can talk more about how he came about the idea and how he came about starting Sprout, but that's, for me, was the reason I joined Sprout. I can impact millions of people in the moment they most need help from their insurer.
What a brilliant mission. Love it.
Niels, do you want to take that? Yeah?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it's very well said. So from my end, obviously, having co-founded the company, it's exactly what Roy said. So it came from a pretty nasty experience that I had myself here on my street. Someone drove into me, got treated like a criminal by the insurance company. It was awful. And we were at Imperial College at the time, and they had a data set there lying around in a sandbox for claims data, which is quite rare to get your hands on. And so I just sold a business, and I was looking for something new, and I was looking into it, and I was like, I was angry, is my experience an anomaly or the status quo? And then looking in that data set, I quickly found out this is the status quo. Like on average, 25 to 30 days before you get sorted out with your claim in the UK. In Germany, for example, it's worse. And that's just not okay. So I spotted an opportunity, and then obviously did quite a lot of due diligence and realized, hey, this market is ripe for a change, and started reaching out. And before we knew it, we had a pilot with a top 10 global insurance company, and every funding round since has been preempted. We've been extremely lucky, and it's been a snowball effect. And we now have 4 of the global top 10 insurance companies as customers, which is crazy if you think about it. 3 years ago, it was me, 2 mates in Imperial getting kicked out of a room every day. They should, it was, and now this. So I guess my journey was from that 0 to getting those, 3, 4 global Fortune 100 companies to buy into us, to implement us. And the reason, Roy came on board, and it took me a long time to get this fucker, to be honest. Sorry, I swore because he was very comfortable, tractable in a $1 billion company as part of the executive team. But because while I have the skills to get that company, to get the company to those 5 first customers, the challenge is a very different beast to get you from 5 to 50. And we needed, I know this is a global category. I'm so convinced that we can be the next Dyson or Pampers of this space, help hundreds of millions of people, improve their lives when they need it most, like Roy said. And so we were lucky enough to bring in Roy to go from 5 to 50. So hence we're both on the call today. So you get both perspectives, which I think is quite interesting.
Yeah, and I'm very excited to hear all about it as well, especially from your side, Roy, on the CTO's perspective and the technology side. And I think that's the best way of building a business, Niels. I really do. I think it's if you really have a personal experience, it's the same reason I built AI Journal. I had a personal experience where I couldn't find the information I needed, and hence it came out of an idea. And next thing you know, 2 years later, we are where we are. That's great. I think that's the best way to do it, because if you have, I think it was Tony Robbins or someone I was going to some seminar, and they were like, when you attach emotion to a business or an idea, or attach it to the sales pitch, that's the best way. That's the best impact you're going to get. But without going down another rabbit hole, I want to delve into this, and I want to know then. So we've been touching on it, and you touched on it just a minute ago, Roy. What is it, or why? And I'll come to you, Roy, and Niels, please chip in if you have some thoughts afterwards. But why is it that innovation is needed in insurance? So where is it that it's needed? We touched on it, and I kind of got an idea for the answer myself, but I'd love to know where you think it's most important and why it's important, and how going forward it's just going to be a bigger must for insurance companies with innovation.
So if you look at the insurance industry, it's quite old, right? It's some companies exist for hundreds of years. It's a very old profession, and it operates relatively in the same way for many years. Now, if you look at the disruption in the market in the last years, and companies like Lemonade and Hippo, so new insurtech companies that sell insurance and they come from technology first approach, they show the world that actually you can do it differently, right? Yeah. The process for signing up for insurance can be much easier. The process for claiming can be much easier. Checking if I'm covered or not covered can be much easier. Yeah. So there is disruption in the market. It's there. The other element is the cloud comes, and cloud is old news for most of us, but not so much for insurers. I think only in the last few years, insurers are willing to take a lot of their operation to the cloud and are exposed now to much more innovation and much more easy way. Instead of building in-house, on-premise system that takes years to build and maintain, it's very challenging to support and upgrade, they have access now to very advanced tools that getting upgraded every day. So the opportunity is there. Now, if you don't do that as an insurer today, you really stay behind. You really stay behind, because insurance, most of the money that they get, and if you look at claim automation or claim workflow, this is a $50 billion industry. Today, on the insurer side, most of what we pay the insurers as premium, they pay back on claims, either payment for claims or the operations around payment for claim. So the margins are very low, and if you don't innovate, if you are not able to be very efficient in the way you do things, one, you lose customers, they'll switch over, and two, you will not be competitive in a very competitive market. So innovation is mandatory for insurance companies to survive. There is a lot of focus, and insurance is a risk-based business. There is a lot of focus in insurance in how to optimize underwriting, right? So how to make sure that I qualify the people right, that I set the premium right for them. There is a lot of innovation in this space, and there is much more to innovate there as well. On the claim processing side, a lot of the systems that manage that are very archaic and old, and they're, as we're not inventing anything that others cannot. So they are all progressing, but being able to tie these into automation process and to make the claim very easy for the policyholder, that's an area that doesn't have a lot of innovation today, and that's a place that we play in. So I do think we have a very good first mover advantage in the market. It will not stay there forever, and this is why we are so enthusiastic to grow fast and make sure that we grab the right customers and the right insurers fast. But this is an area where a lot of innovation is required. You see different insurance companies trying to do that, some trying to do it themselves, some do it with us, some trying to adapt different generic tools like RPAs and other automation tools. But to actually be able to purposely build claim automation that can tie into a specific claim management system that they already have and don't need to change the processes completely is something that not many can do.
Yeah, it's a really important point. And I think as well, just quickly, I think I heard this correctly once, that insurance was built off ships going from the UK over to Americas, and they thought that they could insure it to make sure that it had a successful trip, and then they figured out, and off the back of that, that's where insurance was born. So to see how far it's come now, see innovation you guys are doing at Sprout from one ship crossing the Atlantic.
It's amazing how much marine insurance is actually still very strong in the world. People, for the individuals, we don't know about it, but yes, that's still very strong industry.
You have Lloyd's of London is a very old institute, and when you go into the building, you still have the old big brass bell that they used to clang when ships came back, and it's quite a nice experience actually.
Yeah, check that out. That's cool.
A few points to add. I really like the way Roy came at it, and a few other things I would like to add is, if you think about it, so the last couple of years, like companies like Lemonade and many pets, and so there's been a slew of kind of neo insurance companies, highly funded, fast growth companies that have just dominated that kind of customer acquisition. So obviously insurance companies, the traditional ones that are used to being the boss, are like, oh, this is not good. And then the second thing is, you have suddenly we went to COVID distributed workforce, and they were totally not ready, with on-prem systems and stuff. That's really tricky. We actually saw massive uptake of interest in us during COVID as well, because now everyone needs a laptop and everyone needs to be able to access the system. So and then another thing is obviously the inflation issues now post-COVID. Roy touched on low margin products. Imagine going up with 8% inflation. That you swim or you die at that moment. Like you get it efficient or you die. And then last but not least, for me, this is the most important thing. This is what I've cared very much about in my life, is so the customer experience I told you is bad, but it's actually voted the worst in the world at the moment. Like literally the worst customer experience in the world, voted by consumers.
For insurance.
Insurance, and honestly, not just when you're in Tesco trying to buy some apples and pears, right? It's literally when your house is flooded, you're in a car crash, you're in Vietnam and you end up in hospital. Generally when you're very vulnerable. So it's almost like our Jedi code, it's our civic duty to go and kick some ass and just get this into the 21st century and make sure we're there for people when they need that. So those are kind of my views on it as well.
Yeah. And I'd love to know then, just looking at it from that angle, Roy or Niels, Roy, maybe actually when you see things, so you talked about channels that kind of disrupt. So if you look at fintech market or the finance market, for example, fintechs were a big disruptor to the traditional banks because they weren't moving, they weren't budging, they were still all money behind brick and mortar and having it all there. And obviously fintechs came around and they completely shifted it. Now I do my business banking and I don't need to go into a store. I had to pull money out on Saturday, and it was the first time I pulled money out in God knows how long. And I was just like, I can't remember the last time I've done this. But what my point is, what do you think there was a turning point for the insurance that really made insurers or the industry as a whole have a shift? Was it something like bringing in Go Compare, which can compare thousands of results or hundreds of results? Was there something, maybe not a channel, but was there something that really shifted it? Or do you reckon it's just because consumers want more at their fingertips in quicker time? What do you think?
So the industry is absolutely shifting, and I think what drives the transition and what drives the willingness or need to innovate is the fact that if you don't do it, you die. And it's exactly as Neil said. It's ManyPets, it's Lemonade, it's all these companies. If you don't do that, you will die. Now, both regulation and aggregator sites like Go Compare. So there is Go Compare, but it's also regulation that says, you cannot just increase your premium every year without telling your customer. You cannot. You must be transparent in what you do. You must allow customers to switch. All of these forces the insurance companies to just be better. And as I said, it sounds like we are. It may sound like their hand is forced, but actually they really want to do that. They want to be more efficient. They want to be better. We are in a generation that customer experience is king, right? And if you're not happy, and it's between 70 to 80% of churn in insurance happens because of dissatisfied claim process. So if you fix that, it's amazing, right? It's the customer acquisition cost goes down. You retain your customers; they're happy. They're talking marvelous things about you. Imagine if you claim, you've done you went to a doctor visit, you claim on your health insurance, and within 5 minutes you get the money in your bank. What a better experience can be? Or they pre-approve it, and you go to the doctor and they pay them directly. You don't have to wait a week or 2 weeks while your problem is maybe growing. And you're not sure if you'll be covered or not. There is nothing better than that, and you will stick around, even if that will be a bit more expensive. And we know that people are willing to pay premium for better product, for better service.
Yeah. Can I add something? Because I realized with Tom, we went. We're insurance geeks here, right? So there's maybe a few insurance geeks on the call today, and that's wonderful, and they can follow. But would it make sense to take a little bit of a step back and basically just say, hey, everyone, insurance is cool, No, but seriously, like insurance sounds like the most boring thing in the whole world. It really does. But if you think about it, for me, it's one of the most social democratic concepts out there. And I'm a secret socialist, operating in a very capitalist environment. But it's, I give you a little bit of money every month. And if something really bad happens to me, you're there for me. You help me out financially, logistically, whatever. That's a lot of solidarity right there, right? And it touches all of our lives. It's an embedded product legally. You have to have car insurance, for example. So if you think about it, it's like one of those things that's below the sea level. You don't really see it, but it touches you. And generally, for people that have had claims that are on the call now that are listening, they're like, I once did this and that was rubbish and it took ages and a storm with my roof. And people that have had that, they buy into that. And so insurance is actually a very complicated, pretty interesting kind of industry. If you look at it from an intellectual point of view, especially the problems they have as well. So I don't know. I just felt the need to say, we went straight into the insurance lingo. Like it is actually, it's interesting from a technical point of view as well. So there you go.
And I think it's very rewarding as well, Niels, because you're going towards people that have situations, and if you're there for them, as you were touching on, Roy, if you're quick and faster and you can get it there, that's memorable, and that's what people think, and that people think I'm going to stick with that insurer, and that's why people remember what Sprout.ai are doing, and what their insurers doing, and what the things are doing. If you can speed that up,
they're like a guardian. They're like a guardian angel.
If you speak to claim handlers, for example, which are the people that will answer your phone when you call the insurance company, and we speak to them a lot, and you ask them, what are you proud of? Usually the story that will tell you is how they helped somebody. It's, they were in this really difficult situation, and we managed to accelerate the handling of their problem, or we managed to replace their entire flooring that was dumped, or we send them flour for a difficult situation. They really care about that.
Yeah, I love that. I loved how that rewarding angle. And I spoke to a lawyer, and they said the most rewarding thing was, they said it doesn't happen very often, but when it does happen, you get to play a part in justice, which is kind of similar to how you get a part in rewarding and how making people feel great, just like insurance. I think it's such a vital part of today's world. And I'd love to know then, so looking at going off down a tangent, which nearly did, looking at what Sprout.ai is doing, what impact does AI have to the claims process? So how does it help the customer themselves? Or maybe you want to look at it from a business point, you direct this, and Roy, maybe start with you, then come to Niels. How does it impact? What's the impact AI can have? You touched on it briefly, but for the customer, for example, apart from quicker, better, is there anything else?
So if you look today at what happens when a claim is raised, basically, if I'm claiming against my health insurance, I need to go to the doctor. I need to upload a receipt from the doctor. I need to provide information, maybe my referral from my GP. I need to provide additional information, and then somebody or something, which is we are the something, needs to look at it and say, really understand what is that you are asking for, right? Are you asking for a reimbursement? Are you asking for a pre-approval for doctor visit? Are you eligible? So is it actually covered by your policy? So we need to look at your claim data and understand that. And that's something that we built. So our purposely built AI is doing that. It knows how to extract all this information from the claim data. If that's in documents, if that's in scanned or in pictures that people take on their, on their lap, and extract meaning out of it. Understand, are you claiming against accidental damage to your TV? And how do we know that that's actually accidental damage and not wear and tear, not just because your TV is old and it's time to buy a new one? So there is understanding all the claim information and claim data. Then there is understanding of the policy. Are you covered? What are the conditions? What are the exclusions? And then there is the ability to marry all these together. Today, the best way to do that is having people looking at that. What we can do is basically do that all completely automatically. So we read the information, we extract the data, we understand the data with OCR, with NLP, we extract meaning, we understand the policy, we understand the coverage, and we can apply the logic that we learned of the insurance. Different insurers may have different logic or different ways to assess. We can apply this through our learning in order to make a decision. Now, the impact on the policyholder is, of course, speed. Speed is king, right? And it can take a few seconds because we do it immediately. But it's not only the speed of approval. It can also be the speed of rejection, right? It's also important to know that you are not covered, or to tell you, actually, you seem to be covered, but the receipt that you uploaded doesn't seem relevant. Please look at the document and upload a new one, right? So we are shortening a lot of the back and forth interaction. And we can flag only the things that really require special attention to the claim handler. So when you are getting to work with a claim handler, when you actually need to talk to the insurance, they can take care of you personally for the things that you really need, rather than for things that are trivial. And maybe we could, our term is straight through process. We can just process it straight through the system and approve, reject, ask for more information. So these are the main benefits. It's just, you get your response immediately. You know where you stand. And when we cannot do it immediately, or when you need more care, you get this very good care from the insurer, and we flag it to them, and they know to contact you.
Yeah.
Can I just add something as well?
Of course.
Yeah.
Obviously, we're doing to the AI journal, not the insurance journal as well. So I can imagine people want to know, like, what are your flavors in here as well? And so I'm going to add something, and then I'm going to ask a question to Roy, if you don't mind, Tom. So, everyone here is familiar with AI. So basically, there's three flavors, like Roy said. One is computer vision, in which we have innovated. We've spent a lot of money, a lot of time, and a lot of people on this piece, and we've got a patent now as well, which is that's a very exciting bit, and so I was going to come to that with Roy later. And then the second piece we use is natural language processing, which everyone here knows as well. And then the third part is machine learning. And so that's what we do. The thing is, what I think is cool is that I basically want to say, look, folks, like even in the insurance industry, people are innovating and creating patent technology because the multimodality approach that we've used, we've looked at a very complicated process. And then we've thought about, okay, now how do we solve this with actually a mix of these three flavors or these three ingredients? How do you bake that cake? And the way we've done that has been truly unique and innovative and patent winning and award winning. And that's one thing. We've done that, right? Now that's really, 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 really cool. We've got, I think, 12 of the global 250 data scientists in computer vision and NLP on Kaggle, which is a competitive AI platform. They are exceptional people from all over the world. Now, we've built that. The second part, and I would say, this is where I want to go to Roy. He knows almost more than anyone in the whole world about this. Once you've built that, okay, that's great. You build it for one customer, you build it for two customers. How do you scale that kind of innovative, novel stuff no one's done before? And how do you put that in 50 customers in a cost-effective way without downtime, where their core process, and literally people are in shit and you need to help them out, is relying on you day in, day out, 24/7, the whole year through. And that, I think, if I was an AI, here, how do you do that? How do you productize and massively scale this kind of innovation? And so, Roy, I don't know. That's why. How? Sorry to take over, Tom. But how? Can you give some wisdom? Because if I was on the call, that's what I would want to understand. Because very few companies, by the way, have achieved this.
Yeah. So if you look at the problems that you solve with AI, and the magic about AI, as people that listen to us probably know very well, is that it can learn a lot of things, right? So if you use deep learning, if you have enough data, if you have good enough data and labeled data, you can learn a lot of things. And you don't always exactly know why it decides what it decides, but you know that you can teach it many things. And what we worked very hard on doing is to accelerate the learning process and to narrow down the amount of data that is required. Because one of the challenges we see when insurers said we'll try to do it ourselves is, one, they don't have enough data because they only have their data. Their data is not as accessible as they think it is, right? To extract this data is extremely hard. And even if they manage to extract it, to label it is a big job, right? To say what's the right answer, what's the right data in this document. And it's also very fragmented because the type of coverage, the type of claims, they're if you need 1,000, 2,000 examples for every type of claim, for every type of document, the learning process is very long, very tedious. Onboarding will take very long. And one of the things that we, as Neil said, have a patent on is the ability to create a lot of it through synthetic data. And a lot of the visual AI that we have allows us to train our algorithm very quickly using synthetic data. So we can get much fewer. We still need, of course, fewer examples from our customers. We still need to label the data, but we can do it in a much more efficient way. And that's what that's one of the things that's unique about us, and that allows us to also penetrate different languages and different territories very easily, because we can do that. The other element that is very important is, can we provide the tools, and we built all that in-house, can we provide the tools for an insurance company to onboard themselves by themselves? So basically, train our model, train our AI by themselves. And instead of putting a lot of our data science resources in building the model, putting them on how to build a framework to build a model. And then when customers come, or when there is a new scenario, a new type of risk that they want to be able to process the claim of, or a new vertical, we can provide them these tools to identify the right information, to extract the right information, to understand the policy, and mark these things. And we will train the AI behind the scenes in order for it to provide the right resolution quickly. So this is a lot of the things that we are focusing on in order to get from, as Neil said, from the 4 or 5 customers to 50 to 100 in a way that is scalable, efficient, and also very interesting and cool.
Yeah, I love that.
Can I play that back then? So what I'm hearing is low data. You need to be able to work in a low data environment, so fragmented rubbish data, and make sure you build a platform, not a rocket, so you can launch several kind of. Did I capture that right?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Very good. Sorry,
I
Tom.
like No, that's good. Reminds me of what Elon Musk is doing with reusable rockets. So you've got many ships going off at the same time and many areas to capture. So that's really cool. And also touching on your point then, Roy, what would you, or actually Niels, I want to come to you first. The way you started this business and started Sprout, what other visions do you have for transforming the claims industry or the claims processing and the insurance industry? Is there something else that's right to be taken, or is there another step that can really get on nerves? What do you think?
So it's a very good question, right? So a couple of angles here. So one, it's very easy to get distracted. So what we did is we built an end-to-end automation product, which is very complicated. There's 6 different modules, multimodality, really challenging. Just scaling that across, globally, become the number one. It's once you're into an insurance company, they trust you. It's a very relationship-driven business, and you've proven yourself. They ask, "Can you solve this problem? Can you solve that problem?" And it's really easy to get distracted. Actually, it's one of my weaknesses. Is I'm a creative person, so I'm like, I'm like a magpie. That looks shiny. And so when Roy came in, immediately said, "We're doing this," and I don't want to hear it. We're doing this, and I'm like, "Yeah, you're right." And I'm very much supportive. I'm like, this is my weakness. So I will inevitably do this. So we need to be focused. We need to execute ruthlessly on our targets, on helping 100 million people. We're doing a lot of stuff in health insurance today. We're actually operational in property insurance as well. So let's just make sure everyone gets a real-time kind of really lovely claims experience, put that from the worst to the best experience. However, once you've done that, obviously the very obvious next step is, rather than claiming, how do you prevent claims? So how does your insurance company de facto become your guardian angel? So let me give an example. Let's say I drive to work every day and I use Waze on my phone. How do I get a ping like, "Hey, careful with that route, there's 80% probability of an accident"? So how does an insurance company help you live your life, which is very complicated, full of unknown risks, in a way that you mitigate risk, which is cheap for them, and which is obviously better than you, because you're like, they're going to help prevent, they're going to be your shit umbrella, basically. So for me, that's the next step. In the future, I don't know how that fits in with Big Brother-esque kind of feelings, and you see it a little bit with Vitality Insurance. They do it with their wearables. If you're active, I will give you a discount, and I think that's practical and sensible. I think you take it way further in terms of predictive analytics. I haven't figured this out, but I think it makes sense to go into prevention down the line. But I'm not sure if people are ready for it today, because it means that you're already being tracked. Hello Elon and hello Mark Zuckerberg, but in a sense that is a bit more prevalent, basically. So how do you help people prevent risk? But that's, again, maybe we'll be the company to dominate there as well in the future. So I've gone off on one. So pull it back today. Focus.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. I'd like to ask as well. So I see it as kind of a bit of a fuck situation where if you're using insurance, where actually they can turn it not to a weapon, but they're turning it to, and I don't always agree with it, but I kind of do agree with it, like Vitality, they bring down your cost, but they also, with car, I saw that the car insurance is going to change because they can track how fast you're going, which can either increase or lower your rate. What do you think, like the benefit, or I don't know how to frame this question, but what do you think to these kind of innovations coming? I'm really at two hands, because I think they are great, because it makes us safer, makes us better, makes us more efficient. But then on the other hand, you think, how much data do I want to give them? What should I be giving them? And how does that impact my life as such? Like if you want to eat out every day, and you shouldn't be penalized for health insurance. I don't. What do you think?
I get it. I'm going to give a very short answer, and then I'm going to ask Roy, because I'm very interested in his answer here. But for me, it should be a choice, right? It should be a choice. And that's kind of the only thing I have to say that I think is sensible on the topic. But in terms of data, you are spreading all of your data. We work with a lot of data constantly across insurance companies. That in itself is already challenging. So what do you think, mate? Like, Roy, what do you think?
Yeah. So first of all, I think it's coming, and it's one of the hottest things in insurance. It's telematics. It's ability to, basically do better underwriting, knowing better the profile of the person or the vehicle that is being insured. And I agree also with Niels, that will be a choice, right? So you want to wear this and you show that you're active, your insurance costs will go down. By the way, it's not just better for us as the insurers, it's better for you because you probably live longer, which is a big benefit, right?
Exactly.
Now, of course, you want to have the choice on your life. You want to decide if maybe you don't like exercising, or maybe you cannot, or and then you probably pay a higher premium on your insurance in the future. Now, I believe that regulators will look at it and will put the guardrails, because we never want to get into a place where people are not insurable, right? Because they have problems. They're probably the people that most need insurance, right? But they're higher risk profile, and the regulator will make sure that they are insurable. So I do think it's coming. I do think it will be a choice. I do think there are a lot of benefits for us as policyholders and insurance. And do I want to make sure that my son, when he has a license, he drives more carefully and that he's tracked? Probably I do.
So he's not going to listen to you. So
maybe he will not like it, but I would love that, right?
Yeah. Can I say one more thing as well? Is like there's this cynicism about us, right? We're like the land of the free, and I don't want to. I want to make my choices and not be penalized. But you can also think about, maybe it's good to know who the vulnerable people are, because if you know who's vulnerable, you can be more preventative, you can be more caring, you can say, look, I know, for example, you like to eat out, and that's fine. You be you, and I'm not going to penalize that for you, but I'm going to use, for example, behavioral economics, nudge theory, to help you make better choices. So I think that identification is not a bad thing if you come at it from a caring point of view, and caring equals less cost for insurance companies. So they're very, very aligned on good outcomes. So maybe we should start thinking a bit more like, if, for example, if your best mate knows who you are and knows the choices you make in life and will advise you, and someone say, Tom, you're being an idiot, or Tom, I think that's great, right? And you give them that because they know you. And so that's a privilege. So why, maybe we can start looking at it like that. Anyway, I'm just like riffing here, but
no, I love it. A good way of flowing it. And it also makes me think as well, and funny enough, Rajesh has made a great comment, which I'm going to pull up in a second. But I also think the point you're touching on is around the customer awareness side. So that's the main challenge, is the right language being used, which is exactly what Rajesh has said. And he's just said a massive thank you to you, Roy, for what you've just come out with, which I'll bring up in a sec. But it also reminds me of how AI is talked about. So I always say, Roy and Niels, that I've never come across a C-suite or a data developer or someone in a role that understands AI that says they're scared of AI, or that they never really look at it from a negative point of view. It's normally people from an outside perspective that I do get that classic tagline, or isn't AI going to take my job? And I think if you look at the employment market, it's just constantly on the up, like, because we need more and more people, we need higher skills. And I think that I came up with the idea. I was like, most people don't understand it, or don't like it, or come to the negatives because they don't understand it. It's like if I got put in a cockpit of a plane and they said, you need to take off and fly it, I'd be very freaked out because I don't know how to do it. And it's just like, if you don't understand it, and I think it's to your points as well, if you don't understand, and that's where it is, the challenge is, and what did Roy say, with Rajesh say, sorry, he said, I believe one of the main challenges with claims is customer awareness. A lot of the claims could be a better experience if customers knew what they can and what they can't claim. It's about simplifying the language and cutting down on jargons, which I think is what we were both agreeing, or what we all three of us were agreeing, right?
Yeah, that's really true. And one of the interesting potential, and we don't do that today, but one of the interesting potential usage for our capabilities is just to answer this question: am I covered? Right? Yeah. Even if I don't have a claim yet, I just want to know if I'm covered. And people, you have to get a very long document to read it. And if you could ask us, am I covered for this? And we'll tell you yes, no. And we have the ability to do that. We do that today. And one of our customers suggested they'll connect us to their bot, basically, and people could ask, instead of spending a lot of time and waiting on the phone for somebody to answer them, or trying to understand the document, could ask, am I covered, and get an immediate answer.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. And we have a question from the audience. So someone from Juan from Australia, thank you for tuning in, has come up. And Roy, I probably want to swing this towards you. And then Niels, please swing in with anything additional. But he's asked, how do you eliminate self-interest or bias? And I don't know if he's focusing directly on insurance or just generally as a whole. But i.e., AI is applied for organizational benefit over client. Otherwise, balance sheets suffer, hence shareholders flip. What do you think, Roy?
So first of all, we look at what we want to achieve, and our main goal. And of course, we are a growing company, and we're a for-profit company, and we sell to insurance. So of course, we need to be aligned with the insurer interest. But if you look at our mission, is to help 100 million people with their insurance claim. It's not a economical target. It's not the number of customers. It's the number of people we touch, because we really believe that that's important, and that shows the value that we bring, which also we show the worth that we have. So that's one point. The other point that is really important about AI with biases is how do you make sure that the AI is not biased, right?
Yes.
It's very easy to bias the AI, right? Because it just learns from what you tell them. And if, for example, it knows data that it shouldn't know, like gender, like maybe age, like location, like I don't know, ethnicity, and it learns from that. And it decides based on that rather than deciding based on the facts in the case, then that's a really biased AI that is not good. So our role as AI specialists is to make sure that we don't expose this information to the AI, so it is not biased. Now, the insurance industry is very old, is very regulated, it has bad reputation, as we said, but at the end of the day, today, in our days, customer, they have a lot of power, right?
Yeah.
When you buy insurance, you look online and you compare them, and you can look at by the way, you can look at the claim experience when you compare them on Go Compare, right?
Yeah.
And you can decide. So I don't think that the insurers today will try to shift the process, tweak it in order for to gain a bit more here and there. They want to be transparent. They want to be able to provide you with the right coverage, and we want to support them in doing so.
Yeah, and can I add one thing, Juan? I understand where you're coming from. Everyone's cynical about the insurance industry, and if after my experience, I was as well. And then you meet the people; they're generally good people. What we're actually helping them do is get out of their own way. Really, we help them circumvent legacy processes, legacy IT. They just got a lot of obstacles to doing the right thing. We kind of remove those obstacles. And honestly, keep in mind, the faster they pay you, the more accurate they pay you, the more they benefit because it costs less money. So honestly, the better they do, the more they save money and make money. So honestly, everyone here, Sprout, insurance company, and policyholder, as we call them, are aligned in that kind of journey.
Yeah. The other interesting thing maybe to add to it is that you asked about the benefit of the solution, and we talk about speed, but another benefit that we didn't mention is accuracy. And it's much more accurate and consistent than humans, right? And it's interesting because when you look at many times when you try to assess did the AI do a right decision or not, you compare them to what a human will do, right? So you say, okay, let's get somebody experienced to look at it and score. Correct, incorrect, the first one, the second one, and then get to a percentage. And we look at their agreement or disagreement rate with the AI. But what is important to do is also to compare people against themselves. Because when you talk to 3 professionals or 4 professionals, you will find out that they disagree with themselves more than they disagree with our AI. So basically, our AI is more accurate, even though they not always agree with it. And it's definitely more consistent. It will make the same decision every time. And I think in terms of bias, or in terms of consistency, in terms of ability to explain why a decision has been taken, we can do that better.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
I love that. I love that. That's a really good aspect. I should have mentioned that as well, because it makes sure that you've got a good experience every time. When the person across you has had a bad day or a hangover, or you actually get consistent, honest, transparent treatment.
Yeah, such a key point today as well. Transparency, honesty, and it's what everything goes off. I mean, especially with AI. And I always find it funny that people say, well, AI is about bias. I say, it's not the AI. AI is just it's derivative. It comes from humans. Like, it's the humans that are biased because they put it into the algorithm, and that's what creates it. And for anyone watching today, we've had people tune in from all over the world in the comments. But there's a great book out there which I always recommend, and it looks at the bad side, but it also looks at the optimistic side around those kind of topics, around honesty, trust, and how the data is being used. And it's called Weapons of Mass Destruction by Kathy O'Neill, and it's a fantastic book, and it explores many industries. Rajesh has come in with another question that I want to say. So he said or he hasn't had a question yet. This is his first question. So that's a good one, Roy. Data quality and what is the AI learning from? Whatever is being fed to the model, was it 100% the right result? What do you think?
Yeah, so we never have 100% accuracy. It doesn't exist, not in the not in the world, not in the label data. I think that the key thing is, how do you build the mechanisms to continue and improve the AI? And there is reinforcement learning, and there are different mechanisms and abilities, but every AI provider need to have also the QA processes, and you need to, from time to time, sample your data and make sure that the human eye look at it. And you also need to be transparent with your customers, which is what we do. So we show our customers, here are the decisions we made in the last week. We sample them, we ask them to check that. And we want to be transparent with that, because when we made the wrong decisions, and we will make mistakes, we need to be aware of it and learn from it and fix it. So like every human, like every software, it's not 100% accurate. It always learns. And the key thing is to be agile and to be able to always iterate and improve it.
Yeah, it's a great point. And I don't know if you got time for one more question. We've had another question come in that I'd like to ask if you got the time, not Niels and Roy.
Yes, of course.
It's to Ramesh. So Ramesh has come in saying, and thank you, Rajesh, by the way, for that question. He's a regular listener, and he's from Australia, and it's brilliant to have you with us, Rajesh. But Ramesh has asked, do you think the insurance regulator has the right to audit the model training process and also doing post facto checks on the decisions made by AI? Not too sure who wants to take this out of you two, but maybe Roy and then Niels.
We'll pick it up. Yeah, we can add something later.
Yeah. So first of all, there is a lot, and if you look at the different certifications that you need to have and information security capabilities, you need to show. And I don't know if that's. I don't think we've ever done it to the regulator. Maybe the insurance company needs to do it against the regulator. What we do is usually against certification bodies, is to show them why. And insurance ask us about it usually during the sales process. Show us why your training is not biased. Show us that it's. Show us why it gets to the result that it gets. By the way, a lot of the time they will show us that the data is very secured, which we of course need to show, because we're handling a lot of very sensitive data. But we are being audited, and we audit ourselves because we care about it, to make sure that the AI is built in the right way, that it doesn't create biases, that is that it's loyal to the results that it needs to provide. So we do that. We didn't do it against regulators, but I believe that insurance company will have to answer to regulators to make sure that their processes are not biased. And when the processes are requiring AI, I guess that will include the AI.
Yeah. And I think more people should realize that if you want to do business with a large enterprise, the hoops you have to jump through, it's like, imagine the most challenging exam you've ever had in your life. 300 questions, at uni or wherever you're in college, and then times 10, and then 10 times. So it's very complicated to actually even get the data, and you have to have a level of maturity of information security and everything around it. That's the next level. So that's the one thing. But also in a claims process, there's a natural QA process we call QA, quality assurance, which is you take random sampled claims and then you actually go and validate. The insurance company does this themselves, right? So it's very independent, and then you actually get validation, and that happens very, very frequently against human as well as AI performance. And so you naturally have that validation that's done by the insurance company.
by the way, one of the ways that insurance implement us is to start with us QAing. So basically, we are the QA, and you see that also in medical imaging when you use AI. It usually doesn't replace the referring physician or the physician or the radiologist. It will replace the second reader, what they call, right? So it's the QA process that you start with, and you feel like you have the human there as a kind of additional wheels, or how do you call it? The wheels that help you when you learn how to cycle, right? And you can lift these whenever you feel the QA agrees with humans most of the time, and then you can lift it. So usually start with a QA like process, and then when you build the confidence on the AI, because selling the insurance on being confident about AI, not just insurance companies, but every new user, it's there is an education process that they need to go through, and part of the education is show them that it actually works before they actually start using that.
And can I add just one thing? Like most people, like we build AI, we're very used to it. My uncles, my aunts, and in Belgium, and I come from Belgium, they're like, "What is this? Are you building robots? Are they going to kill me?" And you get a lot. But what I tell them is like, honestly, AI is built by humans to be used by humans. If there's a killing robot, no one would want to use that, right? So it's not going to get funded. It's not going to get. There's no economy behind it. The only thing that's going to be used is something that's built to benefit humans. It's bought by humans, built by humans, used by humans. There's a huge amount of regulation, informal and formal regulation that takes place. We're not crazy professors that go off on our secret island and build. So we build stuff to benefit humanity and benefit people, and that's AI.
And I always say the same thing. I always say people buy from people, and I don't think that'll ever change. I've never bought from a robot, and even if I pay through, like if I pay at McDonald's or something through the touchscreens that they've got in board, that's the first thing that came to my head. I know that's going to be benefiting the people that work at the company and the people behind it. And we've got a fourth participant, so welcome to the show. I love it. So it's a lot of fun, and that's why we do these things. But also, Rajesh, and this might be a good point to finish on, I'd like to know if you've had a similar situation. So Rajesh has said, when we did text analytics, or you can think of a similar situation, whether to insurance, what you've worked in previously, when we did text analytics of web chat transcripts, we realized that only 90% of the customer service agents were following the right process, which meant that we had to shave off wrong answers and incorrect procedures before asking the model to tell us the next best steps. Now, have you ever had this happen, or have you come across a situation similar to this?
So sorry, I'm not sure that I understand the question.
So have you ever seen something where it's not when you put something into action, and here he's saying we've realized 90% of customer service agents were following the right process. Have you ever seen it when you try to put something involved that it doesn't go as planned, is what I'm trying to frame? Or have you seen a process where it goes off on an adjacent agenda and it doesn't follow what you kind of planned?
Yeah, definitely. And we see that today with our customers, where we agree with them on specific scenario, how the system should behave, and then we see that de facto the claim handlers not always do the same thing. So we do see that. The other thing is that, and that's from a different part of my career. I used to develop system for call centers and contact centers, and one of the things that we built was the ability to and also AI driven, the ability to guess or predict what is the topic that the people calling to the call center is about, right? So are they calling to complain? Are they calling to request a refund, or whatever it is? And we found that when we put so the agent has a list, right? They have a drop down and they have a list, and they click on it. And what amazing thing to see is that 90% of the thing that they choose are the 3 top options in the list, regardless of what the issue is, right? So what we did, though, the main change that we have done is to change the order. We basically sorted them by the likelihood that we found, and their accuracy in the decision making went up dramatically, because at the end of the day, they look at the top few options and chose from them. So if you help them, and that's where, and we're talking a lot about claim settlement and straight-through processing, but a lot of the value that you can get is just giving the right hints to the people, adding additional information that is helpful for them for the decision making, and help to get over maybe the laziness of looking a bit further down the list on the additional options.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I think that's a great point to leave it on as well. And I don't know if you have anything to add to that, Niels, onto that point that Roy was making.
No. It's always lovely to see him smile. And no, I've really had a good time. Sorry, my baby suddenly popped in the screen, but no, it's been fantastic to be here, and thank you. And great questions, Rajesh. I found you on LinkedIn, mate. I've spotted you already. He knows his stuff. This guy's into automation, so good questions. And no, thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, and that's why we put it together to connect people together. And Roy, Niels, I really appreciate you having on. We'll definitely have to do this again, hopefully in person, as the world opens more and more up and we attend more conferences. But to everyone that attended, would recommend that you reach out to Niels and Roy and go and see what Sprout.ai are doing. And if you're in that area, go request a free demo off the website, get involved with them. And as always, please let us know who you'd like us to bring on the show. That's why we bring people such as Roy and Niels onto the show, to bring you the experts from that industry and to bring you the forward-thinking insights to help you with your business and to help you understand this world of emerging technology and AI. But Roy and Niels, again, really appreciate making the time, and it's brilliant to have you on today.
Thank you so much.
We had a lot of fun.
Have a good one. Take care. See you soon.
Have a great weekend.